to show a lab session of how I go about testing offense versus certain coverages. Now, my intention is always to try to find stock plays that require very few hot routes and let me do certain things in specific situations against whatever kind of coverages I expect to see. So in this case, I went through all single back and shotgun, and because that's my offensive system, 11 and 12 personnel primarily. And I found plays that fit a certain theory of beating man coverage, a lot of crossers, mesh concept, etc. And I specifically was looking for formations that would allow me to max protect when necessary. That's important because I did not get every single man beating play in the game. It's more, I want to look at 3 route combinations versus man across the board or 2 man under. So I have this versus man offense playbook that I just created. I'm going to play with the Bills because they have a pretty mediocre roster against the Jaguars. And the intention is just to see what's effective even when you don't have amazing players. So we're just going to start this practice, and essentially I'm going to go in. Just test one formation at a time, starting at the top against 2 man under. Just press 2 man under. We'll start there, and then we'll move on to some man blitzes. Those are 2 very different things: 2 man under versus man blitzes. There are times where you'll want to max protect, or at least protect 6 against 2 man under with only a 4 man rush. If your team is not very good, maybe you have a great pass blocking tight end or pass blocking running back, and your O line's not that great, and you're against a monster D line, it's really good to know you have that in your arsenal. Too many people make the mistake of running plays where the protection is not matched either to the scheme or to the skill of the team that they're playing against. So I always want to know 5-4 and 3 man releases against any coverage I want to go against. That's important to the systematic. So I'm going to start with the first formation, single back dice slot. That slants play shouldn't be in there. That's just part of the broken playbook. So the first real play to test is this Z close cross. And you see there's a crosser action going on. What I have no idea of is, does that post do well against man? And that's something that is very important to know about Madden. You can never tell from the play art if anything is good. You always have to test it. So Z close cross, single back dice slot, and we'll go nickel and 2 man under. All right, we will back the ball up a little bit. It's also important to know that being on the left or right hash can make a big difference in a lot of plays. It's not as much so against man, but certainly against zone. But right now we'll start right in the middle. We can get into some of that stuff later. So I'm just going to block the tight end here and maybe pass slide to the left and run the play. No hot routes. Okay. Got pretty good separation on a great corner in Jalen Ramsey. And we just want to run this a few times. Now you notice Ramsey is not pressed, and that's because this guy is in a compressed alignment, so that gives him a natural advantage. So that's good to know. Now let's take a look at the post. So we know this route's pretty good on the outside. Is the post doing anything against the press? He got outside position. Yeah, he's completely locked up. That outside route, also completely locked up. Run one more time. Outside position, and there's just nothing there. Okay, so can pretty conclusively say this play is kind of a one route wonder without making adjustments to it. So good to know. Move on. That route is pretty nice though. That might be a play you would run in some situations. Put your best receiver there or something. Okay, Z close cross corner or Z, yeah. It's also good to have a play that looks the same from the snap and is built off of another play. So we'll run this against cover 2 man again. And again, you see that the press is not there. So we got a little bit of crosser action here. I don't know what's going on in the slot, but I don't know if you saw the animation. I'll go to replay and treat you to the suckitude that was that animation. Oh boy. Okay, let's look at the rest of the field. So this route actually got, because he's not bumped, when his And this hip flip up here, there's some space, so let's see if we can throw that. Run it again, block the tight end. So that's interesting. I'm not playing with two controllers. I'm guessing if he actually manually was pressing. Okay, that was a bad throw. So it looks like this is a route that, if you read the leverage properly, there could be something there. It's not anything crazy, but, and I'm pretty sure it would not work against press. He wouldn't actually get pressed, but the guy would, he would just follow him in a different way, and I think it works only because he's off, which is fine. So you may, if you notice your opponent's not manually pressing on top of the two-man under, then maybe that's something you go to. Okay, this route, maybe against the right matchup, might not be bad. Something you'd have to read, which is good. You know, we're not necessarily looking for routes that work every single time. I messed up in how my pocket presence is not good there. Oh, we're getting that goofy animation again. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. I don't know if it would actually work like that in the game. It doesn't always translate, but we're getting some kind of a goofy exchange here when he does get bumped, and it's actually happening quite often. But anyways, so this play doesn't seem great. And that's the only two plays in that formation, so that formation does not seem great. So let's move on. Double Z slot. This actually should not even be in the playbook. That's a glitch. You can't remove it. This wide receiver post is not a play that I intended to be in here. It's not actually terrible against man, but I couldn't remove it because of the situation rules or whatever. But anyways, if we max protect, this crosser is pretty good, and the post is pretty good. Bad throw, but, you know, against a non-elite corner with an elite receiver or a very fast receiver, you actually can do some work on both that crosser and on that post. So, but anyways, let's move on to the next play. I may actually end up skipping. There's so many plays to test here. I may just look for now at some of the ones that I'm really curious about. So this one's kind of interesting. If we max protect, I'm curious to see what kind of work this double move does against man and then also the crosser. So I'm just going to max pro. The play action. Okay, so that double move takes a million years, which probably makes it great against zone, but against man, it's probably not going to be good. That crosser is getting a ton of separation, and I don't know if that's maybe it just never gets bumped properly. Well, he got bumped that time. So that might be something to look at. Maybe that, and that's at a really nice depth that someone's probably not going to be using. So that's good to know. I'm getting a ton of pressure because it's practice mode. We'll run this one more time. Run it actual max protect. I'll pinch. Try to get the best protection we can. Yeah, that's potentially viable. That's an 86 speed receiver against one of the best corners in the game. So, again, it's a one route wonder. And I'm really looking for plays that I don't have to make a bunch of adjustments on. But still, good to know. Okay, this one, my theory here is I'll block one of the tight ends and leave the other on a route. So in this case, tight end cross, we got a little bit of, we'll actually go base here because it's base personnel. So in a sim league, you'd be working against base personnel. So if we did this, we got a little bit of a crosser action here. Let's see. So that looks like a really good crossing route. However, something happened there. Let's do that again. Okay, so there's some interaction going on between those guys where they're both actually open, but where they're hitting each other on the field is causing... Oops, not what I meant to do. Oh well. Where they're hitting each other on the field, in the mesh, it's causing issues. So you can see here, he's wide open, right? And he's about to come open. He's open, but because they hit each other... it causes both of them to not be open. So that's an example of where maybe moving it to one of the hashes would fix the problem. So let's try it from the right hash. And that did seem to help get the outside receiver open. Can also, yeah, okay. Oops. can also look at this route as well. This looks like, I think that's just a regular old drag. This route seems to be really good against man, so that's one of those things to look at. It's also possible we could do something like this. Max Pro, maybe get better mesh spacing here. Yeah, much better. And we actually got a little bit of a rub on the outside receiver there. And you may just have to read, like, what is the outcome of the mesh, if there is one. But that receiver is kind of smoking the corner. So, yeah, pass rush is crazy in practice mode. But against a normal team, blocking 7, you should have plenty of time. Let's also try this from the other hash. And the reason this changes things is because the amount of the flex space between the flanker, look how far he is from the right tackle, or the right tight end in this play versus how it was before. That's why the hash matters so much. We're totally changing the space between those two receivers by changing the hash. So now you see there's way less of a mesh interaction. And if we moved him out again, even more, like super exaggerated now. There's going to be so much space between these that now we have the freedom to hit him without worrying at the mesh point that somehow they're going to conflict with each other. And I'm guessing the deeper route, we can have that same luxury. So, yeah. So that's probably how you'd want to run. And that's actually a very good play. Especially if you got a nice secondary tight end who would be in this spot, who's fast and a great receiver. We're going max protect. And, maybe the only hot route I'd do would be something like this. Get him on a comeback route, but just overthrew that. That's a really good play. So that's the first play so far that I would probably write down as being something to maybe build around. We can also look at why shallow cross. Again, base personnel. And I would probably block this guy to start with. And just see, like, do any of these routes beat man? Okay, it looked like that dig did not. It's one of those digs that probably doesn't beat man. Yeah, I mean, I completed it, but he was pretty locked up. And the post doesn't look that great either. Let's just max protect and look at the post here. Yeah, he got locked up. Okay, I'm going to call that play a dud. Let's move on. And let's look at inside cross. Might have a dig here that's a little bit better versus man than that other one. So probably do something like this. With this we have a shallow cross concept. It's block 2. Slide protect left, and let's see what happens. Okay, I got insta sack, but it looked like the dig and the post were actually pretty good. We can actually just max protect fully here and then just put this guy in a drag if we want. So the dig didn't really get much separation. However, that's a perfect example. A route like that is great if you have a significant matchup advantage. That said, this post seems to be doing work. Maybe not. Again, this is an 86 speed receiver on one of the best corners in the game. Yeah. So this play, I would say, is not terrible. It's just something that you would need a matchup. You need a good matchup to make that play work, which is totally fine. The point of this is not to find the most game-breaking plays that work against everything. It's to find things that are effective enough that if you have a matchup advantage, you can take advantage of that matchup, which is extremely important. Okay, last one in this formation against 2-man under. And this one, we'll just block the running back, get us max pro, no hot routes. Let's see where that gets us. Yeah, both those guys were open. That looks pretty good. And this is actually more of the type of play that I was looking for. These, like, very specifically the crosser. Okay, that time the receiver really, like, jogged through his route. That's something that you always got to be aware of in Madden. Sometimes the route's okay, but the animation, there'll be like some jogging going on. Yeah, so his route's not good. And that's not a ratings thing, that's an animation thing. So that play is busted because of the bad route animation. So only one good play in that formation. We'll move on. Ace close. Both of these look pretty good. And again, base personnel, so we'll go base personnel and defense, just max protect. And we only have 2 routes here, so probably wouldn't do that, but I just want to see how they interact. So this guy is open underneath, and because it's compressed, it's very hard to press it. You really can't press, and that's one of the advantages here. Actually, instead of max protecting, let's leave the corner routes. Just block the running back. There we go. We got a 3-man route combination. This guy looks pretty open too. Again, 86 speed against the top 3 corner in the game. Just for the sake of yeah, so these look like really good short yardage against man. Very simple mesh play that doesn't require any hot routes and gives you an option on both sides of the field. And there was a little bit of, you could see there was a little, I think there was a little bit of a mesh rub that happened there that caused him to get more open than normal, which is great. That's what happens in real life too, and that's, yeah, this guy gave us extra space. So that's great. That's how the play is supposed to work. You could release 4 and just block the running back, and you'd get the double mesh potential. And it looks like that mesh happened again, so it's quite possible that this play is one where you want to leave that fade because he's, yeah, wow, that's actually great. He's consistently getting, now let's try this. Since we found what looks to be potentially a very good play, let's test it against some other things. So we'll run that again, double cross, and let's do concept, and we'll do, actually I think if we do play type, we'll do man coverage. Yeah, we'll do man coverage and then random man coverage. This one's, yeah, we're going to smoke this one, but yeah, that underneath space is there every time because he's not pressing. If he is pressing and he has, if we have a matchup advantage and he's pressing on that, we're really going to smoke him. Ramsey may be able to play from way behind, but, that vast majority of corners would not. And you can see both these guys are getting pretty wide open. I forgot to max protect there.
Now let's go. Green 39. Green 39.
Yeah. And that does make all the difference in the world. Now the man defenders can green dog, which means if they're a man and they see their offensive player's not going anywhere, they can blitz off of it. It's called green dogging. But if you pass protect correctly, often your blitz pickup's going to be so much better that it's worth the effort and worth the risk of a potential instant green dog sack. That's still 4 yards, so I'm going to say this is the best one we found so far. And there's another play very similar to it in the same formation. So let's take a look at that. It's Y seam. And we'll go 2-man. And again, it looks like it has the same seam. It probably creates the same rub effect, and it does. Got him. So this play looks like it does about the same thing. Just looking to see if there's any differences in either of the crossers. Yeah, they look about the same. So both of these, great plays. I wish they were from different formations because they're basically the exact same play. It'd be nice to have that concept replicated across some other plays. Okay, this is the only one that looked interesting to me. I think we'd need to flip it from this hash. And this is more of a shot play against man. And probably not something that's going to work, but let's try it out. Okay, so one hot route. That's it. And against a slower linebacker, maybe, yeah. I'm not liking anything about that versus two man under.
Green 39.
So we'll just
Green
move
39.
on. Single back bunch. I like this because you can easily max protect with just the normal max protect thing, button input. Personnel, I think this is 3 wide receivers, 11 personnel, so we'll go nickel. Let's see. Yes, it is. It is 11. So if we max protect here, it's going to look like this, and we just have this deeper whip, the dig, and the double move. Okay, so I see immediately there's some delay on that whip. It does look like against off man, there's some potential there. I mean, he just beat the best corner in the game. In general, these pivot routes are pretty good. These deeper pivots, any pivots actually, are pretty good against man. The deeper pivots can... Yeah, with a matchup advantage, I would love this. Now the question is the dig an option? So let's take a look at that. Let's get the dig coming across. So he beat him that time. And this is going to be your slot working against their nickel corner. So, you know, some teams do not have a good nickel corner, and that'd be a very good matchup for you. Yeah. Now that double move route on the outside, I'll take a look at it. I doubt it's going to do anything, especially with that matchup, but let's take a look. Yeah, nothing. Nothing doing. Not against man. Okay. And probably not against anything, quite frankly. We'll run it one more time. Just look at the double move route. Yeah, nothing. Okay. Good to know. So a little kind of a two-man action there. And definitely got something potentially to work with. Let's try tight end hook. Nickel personnel. Max protect. And we just have this kind of out and across action. So that crosser worked great against their nickel. Let's run it again. Let's just look at the crosser for now. Again, very good separation and great depth. And that's so important in Madden. The depth. That depth causes the user to have to dedicate some effort toward it. Now, this other route, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea if that is actually going to be effective typically against man. It looks like he's guarding it very well. I just happened to get the catch last time. So, this might be one of those that really not much here. Certainly appears the case so far. Not really looking for one route wonder plays where there's one really good route. So, let's move on. And look at PA cross switch. Nickel two-man under. And I'm really just curious. Right now, it looks like these routes have a terrible spacing where they interact with each other, but we'll soon see. So, okay, that's what I was hoping would happen. So the spacing, assuming they don't get interrupted on the bump, the spacing's not the same as it looks on the play art on the field. So we got this at a... So how you may want to run this is just, you know, like a drag across or something, and then protect. Yeah, again, maybe against a good matchup, it's a pretty good play. And let's see if the route from the slot. Yeah, that route from the slot looks to be doing pretty good work on the cut against the nickel corner. So let's do that again. Yeah, he's not like toasting him, but again, with a good matchup, this might be totally viable as a 1-2 read against man. Yeah, he beat him that time, big time. Okay, good. I would say that is a play I would definitely run if I expected man coverage. I don't think a user can use both of those routes effectively. And let's move on. Next formation, single back bunch ace. Start with bunch dig. I think this one is going to be base personnel. So I don't think we can actually do max. Oh, we can max protect still. Good. I thought maybe the other tight end would get would get included in the max protect. This dig depth looks pretty good for what we're trying to do here. Picked off, but you know, that's a huge ratings disparity between those two players. Yeah, the post looks pretty good. It's because he's flexed inside. Yeah, that route beats the man way better than it should because of his inside alignment. You can see that he's on the way on the inside shoulder, doesn't get pressed. It's wide open. So that's one of those things. Depending on the kind of league you're in. I know that the league that I help run, this is the one very specific thing we ask people not to do out of compressed formations because it's so overpowered. So, the play is good in a Madden sense. It's not very sim. Alright, let's go back to that formation and look at the divide play. Again, base personnel, cover 2 man. And we're max pro. And what does that give us? It gives us a crosser, and then this kind of a weird outside stem out route. Okay. Not too bad. Okay, also pretty good. We managed to get him. Yeah, they're both pretty open. That's not even a good tight end. If it was a good pass receiving tight end with speed, he'd keep thinking he's RB for some reason. I'm pressing it too late. So again, there's max protecting. Yeah, against a good matchup there, that's nice. And there's a ton of space on the field between these guys, so you obviously can't use her both of these. So I would say this is a good play. The route on the outside doesn't seem to do anything, and we can't do much with it because it's... I mean, unless you wanted to do something like this, maybe. But anyways, yeah, not a bad play. There's at least 2 decent routes that interact in a crosser that seem to be consistent. Let's look at dig return. So again, we have what's probably that totally useless route on one side of the field, and then 2 routes over here that might actually work well. So let's see. So again, we got that delayed pivot route, and that delay is pretty extreme. I don't love that. I'm not actually sure that it's... Okay, so it is a lot deeper than a typical pivot route, and more effective. So there's that. And it could also be that against inferior corner. But this particular pivot, it does not seem to be getting the same separation that the other one was. I feel like the one that we were looking at before was getting... that's pretty good. Still, it's 5 yards. Yeah, not bad. Nothing to write home about, but not terrible. Let's look at the next play in this formation. Last play, PA cross switch. Base personnel. 2 man under. Max protect. Okay, so the route on the outside actually interfered with my ability to run that route. We are on the left hash, so that's going to be part of it for sure. But overall, neither of these plays are all that impressive to me. That route does seem to be pretty good, especially against a linebacker. But yeah, nothing great there. I didn't expect a whole bunch out of these. This actually is a fullback on the field. I'm just going to pass on that formation. This I'm curious about. This has a crosser that we can max protect from. We'll do the drag in first, though. So this is going to be 11 personnel, so we'll go nickel, 2 man under. Max protect, and just want to see if this Okay, so that's not just a regular drag. He's off the line of scrimmage,
Now let's go.
and is that a regular drag? I don't think so. Maybe it is. The first time it seemed like he ran it a little bit deeper. Let's run it one more time. Oh, okay, maybe it's because he got chipped by the defensive end. Well, let's put him on a regular drag and see if there's any difference. Yeah, okay, so it is a little deeper for sure. It's definitely run at a different depth than the default drag. Okay, let's look at the dig now. How's the dig look against his man? I mean, he got inside position, but on the cut, because it's such a huge disparity in speed and talent, he easily caught him. So it looks like it's one of those digs where he kind of jogs through he rounds off the cut and jogs through it. So this play looks pretty busted versus man. Let's go to another one. PA inside cross. Pickle. 2-man. Max protect. And just want to see this crosser interaction. Let's see what we're looking at here. Whew! They got me fast that time. They all green dogged. So, yeah, it looks like maybe the protection's not great, but there's also there's a terrible interaction that's happening every time from the slot receiver. This is a good example of how if we move this to the other hash, that probably won't happen. Let's see, quick. This is going to significantly change. Actually, you know what we may have to do is just pass pro right, maybe. Yeah, this play is hampered by the fact that receiver is getting hit by the defensive end. So, yeah, call that busted. This formation is not turning out to be what I had hoped. PA rollout, which we'll definitely want to run from the other hash. Let's reset this hash. And, you know, there's not a ton going on here. That route, it's really only the two routes on the left that I'm interested in. So that crosser looks really good. And if we got time, maybe the post is decent as well. And that guy dropped into coverage off of the... Just run stock. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anything like crazy special about this play, but it does seem to be pretty decent. Terrible throw, but he was open. Now he is mostly getting open because he's on, again, a post from inside, inside of the man coverage. So it's a little iffy in terms of how sim that is, but a decently effective play. The rest of that formation turned out to be garbage, unfortunately. So let's move on. Trio, and these are just like 3 routes coming from the same side of the field. I'm going to flip this because it's the only way it makes sense to run it, I think. And we'll go nickel, 2-man under, max protect, and then we're just looking at these 3 routes and how they interact. Okay, so not bad on that. I mean, that's something a user is probably going to easily take away. The drag got insanely pressed, which they do usually. So this route isn't terrible. I mean, it's not a play you're going to make. You're not going to make a living off of this play by any stretch. It does also have, looks like, an extra deep comeback. So you can see that comeback, the tail, the bottom, the tail hits the 40-yard line. If I do a regular comeback, it doesn't quite get to the 40-yard line. So it is a little bit of a unique comeback route. And off max protect, if they don't get green dogged, you might actually be able to throw that sometimes. Yeah, and that's a terrible receiver against a best corner in the game. So, yeah, maybe. You know, maybe this guy on a slant would do a better job of trying to fight inside and not get absolutely jammed, which, yeah, looks like the case. So, not a great play, but not terrible. Let's see if we can formation audible to see the other one. Nope, that is the audible, so we're going to go out. It's trio, flip, drive, wheel. Go two-man under. And what do we have here? So we got a wheel. Yeah, whole lot of nothing. So these are just like basic routes that, because there's no real special cuts or anything, nothing's gonna be open against the inside. So we'll just move on. And we are now in wing flex. We'll look at Saints by cross. We'll go against base personnel since we're in base personnel. And what do we have to do here? We'll just block both of those guys and leave the crosser. And what we're looking at is this a good crossing route? And it looks like it is a pretty good crossing route. Although the timing, because they're getting pressed, the timing may work out to where you could get yourself in trouble. It's also one of those plays where the running back route's really good after the play action, so you may consider leaving that on the field. This might just be a pretty decent play to run stock. However, I'd probably run this from the other hash, almost certainly. And that's going to give us better spacing on that crosser. What I don't like is the man defender on the outside receiver is able to, because of how the timing works out, he's able to react to that crosser when he shouldn't be able to. So that's one of those things where you may want to just get him out of the way, which is stupid, but in Madden, it's something you often have to do like that. So you just would get that guy out of the way on a little in or drag or anything just to get him out of the play spacing so you can run the play effectively. Not bad. It's you know, maybe a two-route wonder because it does have that running back route that against a user, if there's a user on that running back, this is a perfect kind of play to call because the user generally will not be able to follow a route like that. Especially when they see play action, they'll kind of hammer down a little bit, take their inside steps, and then oh, he got tackled that time. Yeah, not a terrible play, not amazing either. I was hoping maybe this post would be a little bit shallower to do something, but it looks like the post gets... Well, with the right matchup, maybe it's good. It's a shame that those safeties won't trigger on that because there's no one else for them to guard. Yeah, this is an 86 speed receiver on Jalen Ramsey. So I was smart routing that, and I don't know if that made the difference or not. I didn't do it that time, and it still looks like it's okay. Maybe it attracts the safeties a little more if you smart route it, or if you don't smart route it. Yeah, this actually looks like a really good post. Doesn't look like it initially, but right around his cut, looks like he's getting pretty consistently open. I mean, Jalen Ramsey making a play like that on an 86 speed receiver, you'd expect that most of the time. The fact that we're getting a pretty decent amount of completions on this means this might actually be a very nice play. Especially if you got a matchup advantage, which you often will. Okay. So that's a pretty good play. Let's move on. We're going to flex. We'll look at the inside cross. And if we max protect here, we're going to have this. So we probably don't want to do that. We want to either do this and leave the drag, the double drags, which, by the way, though, these are just default. Like, these are pretty much default drags. There's nothing special about that. Or you could leave this guy on his route, which some of these against man are really good. Ooh, jeez. Was that even who I was throwing to? Oh, it was. Okay. My mistake. So RB, or R1. Yeah, and I thought that would happen. There's a guy reverting to a spy because of not everyone getting released on the route. So this is what I was looking for. Yeah, it's not great. The post looks like it might be really good. Just noticing back there, looks like it was beating. No. So this play's busted. Let's move on. There was the one good play though. That's definitely worth. If you're running that formation, definitely worth keeping that play in your playbook. This is basically the exact same play out of a slightly different formation. Does not mean this one's bad. This one could be great. Just have to test it. Now, so the issue here is that that drag is just getting pressed into oblivion. And that's a no-go. Some routes, the default drags get pressed like that. Better routes don't. So let's look at... This one has a few plays in it. U drive. And might run it something like this. I don't know. That post takes forever to break, but it looks like it did get open. Maybe do this. Yeah. Yeah, nothing special. Nothing that's worth adding it. This is more of a zone beater, and even then it's probably not very good. The spacing doesn't look great. PA post shot. This one has a built-in 7-man protection, which is always nice. So let's just see how this crosser interacts with the deeper crossers. Pretty good. And then let's check the circle, the slot receivers crosser, and see if anything's there. Looks like no. If there's inside leverage, it looks like one of those routes that's just always going to get hammered. Yeah. So I'm going to say no on this. The crosser's okay, but without making adjustments, it's not going to be a good play. Misdirect shot. This one looks really good on the play art. So let's see. Yeah, those route depths are very nice. Let's see what we got. Yeah, looks like just about everybody was open that time. That one, he let him catch up. That is Ramsey on him. Let's see, he has a... Yeah, it looks pretty good conceptually, but these routes might be better against zone. That outside guy, though, is looking like he's beating his guy pretty soundly. So maybe this is one of those where you just have to make a slight adjustment. Scan a slant or something, just get him out of play. Yeah, that outside post is torching his man. So that might be... Yeah, not bad. So at least we have a over/under. It's more of a more of a shot, obviously, but oh man. Okay, I'll mark that up as a maybe. And then we'll look at the Jets drive wheel. Just run it stock and see what it looks like. So that route got a ton of separation. Not the second time. The route above it got pretty good separation though. And we do have that switch concept on the opposite side. Great separation again by R1. So this might not be bad. Just as like a little 1-2 read, we'll block the running back and just looks like individually these routes are pretty good. So a user would have to chase. Probably with probably the early one, if it comes open, he would chase it, and then we would have this over the top. So that looks pretty viable. It's not like a crazy play. It is nice to have that switch concept on the field for some other coverages, because there aren't that many in the game. And then the last play here is the Y go. And we will just max pro here, and then just look at maybe just send this guy. So that route definitely did not get open. Let's just look at the dig. It's a deep dig, and the quarterback does take a very deep drop, so there's some potential there. But it's not great. It's not much going on. Okay. So there's only one play left in single back, and it's this wide receiver drag play. I'm going to want to run this from the other hash. And we're going to max pro, and all we're looking at here is like this interaction between drag, corner, dig. So drag is getting completely blown. Yeah, everything is completely locked down. Okay, so that's a no-go. So I went through every single back formation and added every play that I thought would be good, and this is what we wound up with. So, slim pickings. Okay, gun bunch. Now we got some obvious ones here like this, and this is great because you can see the crosser does not involve the tight ends. You can easily max protect it. So we'll go mesh, nickel, two-man under, max protect, and then the question is, are these decent routes, or is this just like a basic drag? Well, he got inside release on that, so that's good. Max protect. That time he got destroyed. The other crosser did beat his guy though. This is one where if you motion him in though, he'll always get the inside on the drag. So that may be something you would want to do. Just in general, it is virtually impossible to all press against a compressed look like this, which is why teams will run this a lot of times. So whether or not you think that's sim probably varies from person to person. There's a real life argument to be made, and then there's also the Madden argument of like, well, shouldn't work every time. I mean, this guy's definitely giving up way too much space in that bubble in the way he lines. You could manually press, or when I say manually, I mean just global adjustments to get them to press. But in general, compressed sets are not guarded very well, so there is some. But yeah, I would say it's good. I mean, it's really good. The depth's great. Running it this way works very well. Next up, I probably won't test everything in this formation because there's just so many. There's so many that we know are gonna work. This is one of the best formations in the game. Buck sail. Protect. So if we don't touch anything here, I'm just curious to see. Curious to see if that would get open against Ramsey. These kinds of routes this year in Madden are pretty bad in general against man. I just smart routed it to make it longer. So who knows? Maybe that'll help. No, and it doesn't. All right, so I would say play is a no-go. It is very good against zone, but not against man. Just looking for something maybe that's a little more unique. Deep corner, I already run occasionally against man. It's a much longer, excuse me, much longer read, but this guy can get open with the right matchup. Corner route can be thrown. occasionally, depending on how those routes interact. Sometimes you get a little bit of a mesh there. It's not super consistent, and it is a little bit risky. You also have this really deep dig, which with a good matchup is going to be a nice throw. I don't know if I would want to throw it against that matchup every time. You just want to make sure that you touch past that over the middle. If you bullet it, it'll get picked off. So, not bad. Not a bad play. Not great, not bad. It's good to have plays that you know are not just amazing Madden plays, where like if you have good players running the play, that it's going to be successful. It's always a good thing to know. This one, I was curious to see if it had any kind of a special drag on it. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just a basic one. The crosser looks like it's probably going to be really good. And surprisingly, no. He jogs through the cut, which is a huge problem in this game. Anytime someone's jogging through a cut, see how he just catches up easily and keeps his hand in his hip pocket in trail, and that's the worst corner on the team. So yeah, that's a no-go. It's just a bad route. All right, let's move on. It looks like I forgot to remove plays in this particular formation. Let's move on. Halfback bunch strong. Let's try zone of flood. Let's see what we're working with. So we got any man beating routes here. Max Pro. Okay, interesting. The route depth is very different from what the play art looked like. That's a very, very deep outbreaking in cut then outbreak route. So probably not great. It's usually not going to have time to throw that. Now, if you smart route it, it's probably a lot shorter. Yes, no? It's slightly shorter if you smart route it at 10 yards. Yeah, nothing great here. Let's move on. I was curious to see the spacing between these crossers and if they're good crossers, because if so, this is pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Missed it wide open. Just realized, I did not know this about this play, but because on the run action, I think the tight end, yeah, that's actually really nice. I would leave him on his default blocking and block and release, because he's actually going to prioritize an interior defender on his initial block, and then he can release from the inside. That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't necessarily want to throw that route, but I appreciate what he's doing in protection there, because against certain things, that's actually what you would want to happen. That said, it looks like this other crosser is pretty terrible. The circle crosser. The cut happens so late down the field, it's virtually useless. It's probably not smart routable. It's not. So, yes, you are giving up something there. Yeah. Not a great play, but interesting because of how the pass pro works. So there may be some very specific things I would want to run that against. I don't think running that from the other hash would have helped with the problem we were seeing. Alright. I don't want to test all of these right now. They're similar to what we've already done. It's also similar. Okay, now we're getting into some things I'm curious about. So Shark HB wheel with Max Pro, curious about. Yeah, it looks like it's just a basic drag. I was hoping maybe it'd be something different. Well, that post absolutely torched him. Looks like that post is beating Ramsey
Now let's go.
consistently.
319.
And it's a little shorter if you smart route it. Yeah. That's one of those,
Hurry up, here we go.
potentially one of those plays. It's just great. So great because it's a Madden one route wonder. Also have the comeback on the other side. The way I'd run this play probably is to keep the shallow cross, leave the tight end in his route. That said, against man, that's terrible because of how the spacing interacts with the comeback route. So actually probably not true. That said, this drag's really bad. The only time you'd be able to throw that is against a really bad corner with a really fast receiver. So could do something else, you know, maybe like something like this possibly might make more sense. That's something that if you have a matchup advantage could work. You could obviously also slant. It's the most overused thing in Madden is the slant. There's some potential there. But no, I think yeah, you could also put him on a curl. It's not great. Yeah, it's a little bit of a one route wonder, I would say, but that one route was pretty good. All right, let's see what else we got. Flanker dig. Max Pro, and that leaves us with this, and then I was assuming we would just do something like this. So that dig doesn't look like there's anything special, but with a matchup advantage, it's probably viable. That post looks pretty decent. Yeah, nothing special, but maybe viable with good matchups. So this, I'm curious to see if this is a basic slant or basic drag or something special as a crosser, because this could be good. Looks like it's, yeah, it's just regular old drag. The dig looks like it jogs through the cut, so that's bad. So this play's busted. Inside cross. Try it out. I'm already pretty sure that the drag is just a regular old drag, unfortunately. It is. Oh, and the receiver just got destroyed down the field. He got jammed for like 12 yards. So it's one of those inside release routes that apparently doesn't actually get inside release, which is horrible. Okay. Plays terrible. So that means this formation is busted. Got nothing in it. Okay, this one we're looking at a motion to drag, which might be nice because it should give us separation. Max Pro, and then we just have this kind of, you know, shallow cross result here. So yeah, he's always gonna get some separation. Man, not much. Jeez. Again, he probably is jogging through his route, and that's what's causing that result. Unfortunate. Yeah, he's not running full speed. So many routes are like that in Madden. You gotta know which ones because it absolutely ruins otherwise solid routes. There's some other things in this play that are pretty good, and this running back route's really good against man. The wheel, I think, is good against man. No. Not if you throw it that early.
Here we go now. 319. 319.
Yeah, roasted him. But yeah, overall I'd say
Here we go now.
not looking good.
Blue 90.
Let's
Blue
back out.
90.
Oh man, there's so many formations. To test 37. Wow. Oh boy. Let's try this one. This one's kind of unique. Curious to see if this corner does anything. Okay, let's try that again.
All right, here we go. 319.
There's also a post on the other side. Yeah, so that doesn't seem to be effective at all. This formation looks to be a bust. This one... No, I put that in. That looks terrible. This one, however, has some potential.
Now let's go. Green 39.
So you got a post, a double move, and another post. Any of which could potentially beat man. The spacing is horrible. Horrible spacing.
Hurry up, here we go. Blue 90.
So we'd probably have to do something more like this and just get rid of this other. Let this guy try to do some work across the middle of the field. Maybe with like a great matchup, but that double move takes so long
Here we go.
to develop. Goodness.
All right, now lucky 56. Lucky 56.
Okay, that's terrible. Okay, try this one.
Hurry up, here we go. Green 39. Green 39.
Oh, he doesn't jog through the route after the motion drag. That's always good.
Hurry up, here we go. Green 39.
So that's good to know.
Green 39.
Run his route one more time. Oh, he got caught in the weeds that time around.
Green 39. Green 39.
It might help if we run it with the tight end popping out first to give him some space. Yeah, there's some mesh happening there if you run the play as it's designed.
Here we go now.
So this might not be bad against man, but it will be.
Blue 90.
You'll be releasing 5, which just wasn't the intention of this particular video. That said, you might be able to block the tight end. The rub seems to be coming from the running back. So let's try this. Yeah.
Set. Blue 90. Blue 90.
And the running back is probably open as well. Route's very good against man. Yeah, that might be a nice, might be something nice to run. Now the question is, does this post do anything? Probably not. Let's see if the post does anything against his man. No, not at all. Okay.
Now let's go. 319.
That's what I was looking for.
319.
This one. Yeah, there's not much here. Okay. Let's move on. This one is a built-in 7-man protection with a little bit of a crosser action. Let's see what it looks like. Spacing does not look great. Not much separation
All right, here we go.
from either of them. That said, it is Benjamin, and the slot is exceptionally slow.
Now let's go. Blue 90. Blue 90.
That spacing is not good.
Now let's go.
Not
Blue
good at all.
90. Blue 90.
Yeah, because he's on the line, if you had a really good fast receiver there, you might actually have something.
Here we go now. Green 30.
But I don't know that that post coming across is... Yeah, that's not good at all. He jogs through the cut, so that's a busted play.
319! 319!
This one I was curious to run against off man, but I'm certain it won't work against press man.
Now let's go! 319!
So this one has a crosser built into the tight end. We'll just cancel his for now. I just want to see what these other routes do. Yeah, nothing there.
Hurry up, here we go! 319!
All of them are completely locked up.
Alright, here we go! Blue 90!
So it's looking like so far our only real success has come from compression or having tight ends that are already on the line and can't be bumped, which is somewhat disappointing. I was hoping to find better answers than that, but that is the typical in Madden. Okay, this play deep in I thought looked pretty interesting.
Now let's go! 319! Now let's go!
Not bad. And you can max pro this. That route seems somewhat viable. Let's look at the other routes.
Watch you now, Barney!
Oh man, I had inside on him, and when I threw it, he instantly caught up. It's crazy. Looks like I'm getting inside release every time on that dig, which is interesting, but he jogs through the cut, so it renders the route useless. This guy can be motion inside, which is going to make his post OP, as usual, but by default, it's not that good. Okay, good to know. Probably not going to be any good. That doesn't look good. So now that we've actually run some things, we're getting a feel for like what types of routes are even going to work. Some of these are just really OP, and that's why they work. Especially from, I mean, this is going to work because it's from compression. We already know that. This one. Curious about this one with the switch built into it. Oops.
Alright, here we go. 319! 319!
It's Max Pro. Interesting. That corner looked like it actually got open. It's so hard to get corners open versus man in this Madden. Huh. He is actually getting separation. And I just found one of the rare good corner routes in the game. Now the spacing is not good, and that's why we're having issue getting the ball to him. But you know, if you did something like this, for example, the better quarterback, that guy's wide open. That does make this play a bit of something of a one route wonder, but that is a nice route. Again, you would have to get that guy out of the way. Something like that. If he drove through that, he would get more separation. He's kind of jogs after the cut. That's time he stuck with him on the cut. I threw an anticipatory throw. If that had anything to do with it.
Hurry up, here we go. 319. 319.
Curious to see what happens if I'm really by himself out here. Yeah. Huh. Well, for whatever reason, that corner just absolutely is roasting his man pretty consistently. It's alright, I won't belabor the point, but you get the idea. Let's look at the dig on the backside real quick before we go to the next play. Yeah, nothing special. It does look like that deep post. If you have a ton of time, you might be able to throw the deep post. Yeah, it was open. Keep in mind it's against Jalen Ramsey, a very, very mediocre receiver. So it does look like it's one of the better posts. Ooh, that was an ugly throw. Okay. Nothing crazy good on that. And we'll just... Oh, there's another version of that play in split offsets. We'll check that one out as well.
Alright, here we go. 319.
Let's see if the corner is as good on this one as it is on the other one. Looks a little deeper.
Detroit! Detroit!
Looks like you really have to lead that to the sideline to get a consistent result off of it. Probably helps to throw from the right side of the pocket. Throwing from the left just changes the angle.
Green 39. Hurry up, here we go. Blue 90.
So, similar thing, and this is probably not a good dig. Yeah, it doesn't look like it. Okay. It's basically the same play.
Set. 319. 319.
Okay. Curious to look at some of these and see if they're any good, especially this one.
Set. Blue 90.
Eh. I'm just watching that one kind of unique route. Doesn't look like it's really doing anything for us. Okay.
Here we go now.
I think that's just what I need to know there.
Green 39.
Alright, let's start over here now and see. Let's look at this double in play.
Here we go now. Green 39. Green 39.
Well, first of all, this running back route is great against man. So, I know we're looking at max pro, but some of these routes are just excellent against man coverage.
Detroit.
That's not. So you could do just release 4 here, potentially. Let's look at this crosser. Okay, got instant sack. Let's try it again.
Here we go.
Got pretty good separation that time.
Here we go now.
Run it again. Yeah, it looks like a viable crosser.
Here we go now. 319. 319.
So you kind of got a 1-2 read, like running back to the other crosser. And this is from the hash, the least effective hash to run this play. You'd be better off running it from the other hash. But yeah, if you got a great pass catching running back with speed and good route running, it's gonna be, this route's just deadly against man. Okay. There's also a little bit of a glitch out here on the outside release fade. You can see like gets outside every time. It's not as exaggerated on this play as some others, but this.
Blue 90. No,
Alright, this is one I wanted to
Patriot.
test.
Patriot. Over.
And it looks like... Yeah, nothing special. Okay. You can immediately tell against man sometimes that routes are just not good routes. Okay, look at slot cross. This another one has one of those unrealistically open outside release fades on it. You can see he just lets him go. You can throw the whole shot. It's something that Sim League will definitely ban you from doing. There's no reason Benjamin should be beating the third best corner in the game every time in main coverage like that. And it's because he doesn't get pressed. It's commonly referred to as an unbumpable route. It's supposed to just be a manual outside release fade, but for some reason they do not bump it in the game. It just causes issues. Okay, so let's look at the crosser. It's very deep, and it looks like he jogs through the break. Like most. Yeah, he's just not open because he's jogging. Even when he gets open at the cut, he lets the guy catch up to him. It's very unfortunate. That accounts for the majority of crossers in the game. That's the case. It's just almost only from compression do they actually do anything. Okay. We're going for the other end this time. This one looked unique to me.
Now let's go. 319.
Just run it as is and see what happens. Yeah. It's interesting. That crosser's really good. I think if you ran this play, you probably want to do something like this. Anything to get something useful out of that other receiver, because right now, it's not doing anything useful.
All right, here we go. 319.
Terrible pass.
Here we go now.
Yeah, I don't love this route that's going vertical. I don't know that it's really doing anything for us. But the crosser looks like he's getting wide open consistently. So it's one of those good crossers, that's for sure. And why is that? Well, it's because he doesn't jog through his cut. Because he doesn't jog through his cut, he gets wide open. Let me just do this. So this play looks a bit like a one route wonder, but it is a very good route. It's beating Boye every time. Okay, seen enough on that one.
Green
39. Okay, so we got a double post play here. Actually looks like decent double post spacing. Another unbumpable where Benjamin's gonna roast Boye every time. Again, banned in every sim league. It's worth its salt. So let's look at the crosser. He does look like he slows down through the cut, which is problematic. Yeah, he's catching up to him every time. Let's look at the outside post. Nothing good at all there, so this play is totally dead. Let's look at... Yeah, I was curious to see if this was any good. I don't think it will be, but if the post is able to get inside, it could be good. I'd probably run it like this with a comeback. Again, jogs through the cut. You can't jog through the cut. Why would you program these guys to jog through the cut? I mean, I know it's just so it won't be overly effective, but it's ridiculous. It makes these routes totally useless. It does look like he's getting inside position every time, so that's at least good. But you don't want to see them get pushed to the outside. Fighting for inside release is very important because of the eventual in-break. They have to have inside or it's just going to be unthrowable. That's actually not bad. That's actually not bad. If you throw it more like a dig, think of it as a dig on the cut and not a post, and throw it as if it was a dig, I think we might have something there. Didn't have much separation that time, but man, if he wasn't, yeah, that's not bad at all. It does at least force the user to do something. Okay, backside dig. Let's see if that's any good. Probably not. Yeah, nothing special there. Okay, not great. Nothing great here. I was curious about this one. I know the double post is not good, but curious about the crosser. Looks like he jogs. Yep, he jogs. Okay, so nothing special there. I already know that this corner route is really good against man compared to most. So there's that. I guess maybe the speed out from the tight end might be good. Get this backside rounded off big. He jogs through the cut. Okay, so this plays a no-go. No-go. There are definitely some plays that I think will be interesting in here. This wheel mesh should be good. Oh. He gets pressed. Oh, he's lined up, so that drag gets totally shut down. Okay, that's disappointing. Let's see what else we get to work with here. That's cross. Well, the crosser's wide open.
All right, here we go. Blue 90. Gun.
Yeah, crosser's pretty good on that one, but what you're really looking for is double crossers for the mesh. So not much there, and then, you know, as it's not surprising that this is probably going to come down to mostly compressed sets being what destroys man.
Now let's go. Green 39.
Let's throw this. Jeez, everyone just gets demolished at the line on that. Okay, let's go different play. yeah, so I guess pretty much gone through everything. I mean, stuff that you'd expect to work. All the stuff from compressed forms does work, which is as expected. So yeah, that's how I would test out that particular type of thing. So we only found maybe half a dozen decent plays out of the 200 that I added, but that's kind of what you have to do in going through playbooks and trying to find out what works. So hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.